Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk more in depth about vocals and being able to mix those in FL Studio. And not just any vocals, we're talking about R&B vocals. I know a lot of people like to rap, but I'm more of a singer and I'm more of an R&B type guy. So I like to work with vocals. It's a little bit more in depth when it comes to singing vocals than it is for rapping vocals, or it can be, should I say. So stick around to the end of this video so you get the full picture. I will preface with this. This is not the only way to do this. This is just the way that I did this. I know a lot of people like to say that they can't get good sounding vocals or good sounding mix in FL Studio. They'll say,
You can't record in FL Studio, you need a more professional DAW.
shut up. Like, shut up. It doesn't matter which DAW you use. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to get good vocals in any DAW. I'm going to show you what I did in FL Studio using FL Studio native sounds, native plugins, and whatnot to get a good sounding professional vocal. There is going to be one plugin that is external that is not native to FL Studio, and that's just the Excite, but it is a free plugin. It's something that I don't often put on vocals, but I wanted to put it on these, just kind of bring out some more of that high end to them, give it like a little gloss at the top. So if you have FL Studio and you don't have any external plugins, or you can't afford any external plugins, or you just don't want any external plugins, you want to know how to get a good sounding professional vocal in FL Studio, good mix, then this video is going to be for you. So without any further ado, let's just get right into it. As you can see in this video here on the screen, I have the actual instrumental in the project. So the instrumental was built first, and then we wrote to it and we recorded to it, and everything's in this same project. Now, I know sometimes, or a lot of times, people only have a WAV file that they drag into the session and then they start recording over it. That's okay, but you don't have nearly as much freedom to do things. And another thing with this is that some of this wasn't like this at first. Like, we recorded the song and then I arranged the beat. So it didn't sound like this. It didn't look like this at first, but I had that freedom since I have the MIDI in here, since everything was created here. I had the freedom to be able to change things. The guitar solo right here at the bottom, that actually wasn't made until after the song was recorded. And there's just a lot of changes that was made after the recording. If you don't have the MIDI, and you do have to be, if you're in touch with that producer or whatnot, I would recommend that you get the stems, right? Because even if you don't have the MIDI itself, the stems are separate, so it allows you to mix everything. I was able to mix this instrumental very well with the vocals because I had that freedom with all of the other sounds being in the project itself. If you want to see how this instrumental was built, then I do have a video I'll have placed in this video somewhere, and you can click on it to see I deconstruct this instrumental so you see how it's made. Without any further ado, let's get into what we're really here for, and it's the vocal. All of this and up is the young lady, and then all of this down here at the bottom is me. If you haven't heard the song, I'll put the video up here somewhere. You can go check it out, and it is also streaming on all platforms, so wherever you listen to music, you can go find this song. It's called This Game by Trishelle featuring J2X. J2 times. What I want to do is I want to start with the vocals. What you'll see here, as I say to everybody, stay organized. Get as organized as possible. You see I got things color coded, right? So these are like backing vocals or accent vocals in the purple. These right here are going to be main vocals and the parallel compression vocals. I do my parallel compression a little bit different. It's similar, but it's not the exact same. This is where we are doing a call and response. So this is why that's why these vocals are different color, because as you can see, these are kind of overlapping with these down here. Let's get into these vocals. So I have the main vocals here, and then this is going to be the comp vocals, and then all these in purple are going to be accents or ad-lib vocals, right? I'm going to bring my mixer over here, and I'm going to show you what I got going on the mixer. Now, the first thing that I did to these vocals, very first thing that I did was on my master, I have new tone, and I just basically tuned all the vocals. Now, these vocals, they weren't too bad, so I didn't have to do too much to them, but new tone is a lot like Melodyne for FL Studio. Once again, this is not the way you have to do it. This is the way I did it. You'll see that I got quite a few things going on here. I got her vocals, I got a P comp, I got reverb, I got chorus, saturation, and delay. As you can see, this vocal is sent to these tracks, these aren't directly on the vocal itself. And I do that because you get a little bit more freedom and a little bit more control over what you got going on there. Plus, you don't have enough room to add all of this on that vocal chain. But I'll let you see what that vocal chain looks like, and then I'll let you hear what everything sounds like as we bring those in. So the first thing that I did was I brought in Pitcher, and Pitcher is just to kind of correct some of the vocals if they're still off, which you can see I have it really, really slow, which means it's not doing very much. She didn't need very much, first of all. I mean, after pitch correction, everything's pretty much on pitch. This is basically just a little extra step that I added on there. The next thing that I did was the Fruity compressor. Now, I'm not saying copy these settings by any means because her voice would be different. What a compressor is doing is basically bringing those louder peaks and those lower peaks closer together in dynamic, and then you just kind of bringing them up a little bit more so everything can be heard at a similar dynamic. But these are the settings on that. The next thing I did was this basically a de-esser, right? I used peak controller to control the peaks of right here like it's a de-esser. Now, you do have a de-esser in FL Studio. You can go to your Maximus and there's a de-esser in it. But what I like to do is I like to take this little knob or this little fader and I'll link it to a controller. And the controller that I link it to, as you can see, peak controller is before the EQ. And I'll link it to the peak controller. And then once you play, this now controls this.
You can play this game.
And it's controlling those T's, S's, and P sounds that we're getting. And basically you turn it up or turn it down by this bass. I got it at 61%, so it's already got a dip in it. And then I got the tension and the decay on that. The decay is kind of fast because I don't want it to hold it down too much. It's going to make it sound muddy. But that is basically a de-esser. But like I said, you do also have a split band and a narrow band de-esser in FL Studio Maximus. After that was where I came and cleaned up the vocal here. Now, she didn't have a lot of low end in her vocal, so I didn't have to take very much of it out. She recorded it on this mic, the same mic that I'm talking to you on. She recorded it. She was standing right over here while she recorded it. I'm used to the room. I'm used to how the room sounds, and I can actually guide the artist on how to really stand or close, or how far close to stand to the mic so we can get a good sound. But I took out some of the low end and I kind of dipped it here and I dipped it here. I didn't want this EQ to be doing too much work, so I actually put on a second EQ and we just dipped out some more, boosted up a little bit here. And this is not going to be the same for every vocal. Her vocal is different. Your vocal is going to sound different from hers, so you don't want to copy these settings, but you do want to just kind of look for those frequencies when you're doing this. And all you're doing is basically just kind of taking these up, and then moving them left to right to just kind of find out where those frequencies, harsh frequencies are, or the ones that you want to boost with it and whatnot. After that, I put on a Fruity limiter, and this limiter is adding a ton of saturation. And the reason I'm adding a ton of saturation on it, number one, is because I needed to have that gritty sound. She has a really raspy voice, and I wanted to enhance that raspiness. I wanted to add a little bit more harmonics to the top end of that raspiness. So I threw the saturation on here, and I pushed it. You can see it's pretty hard. If you look at this vocal as it comes
You
through,
can play this game.
it's hard. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but that's just the sound that I was going for with this vocal. After that, I put on another EQ. We cut out some more of those low ends, and we just boosted up. We had some more frequencies that I wanted to kind of take out, but I also wanted to boost in this high, give it a little bit more air, and that's what this area does. It gives it a lot more air. Now, I know that seems like a lot on one vocal chain, but it serves its purpose. Now, you don't have to use all of these. Once you get that sound that you're looking for, I would say stop adding stuff. And then start adding the effects. So as you can see here, the vocal right now is dry. Well, not dry. The vocal right now itself, it is dry, but it's basically cleaned up. But now I'll start to let you hear what it sounds like as I add in all the effects. So we do hear this comp vocal.
You can play this game.
And this comp vocal right here, it has a little EQ on it. It also has some compression on it, and I'm really hitting it with the compressor. Like, as you can see, I'm hitting it pretty steep here, but I'm hitting it really hard. That ratio is really hard, and that brings it down. And this is in vintage mode. And also, I'm hitting it with a quick attack and a slow release. And that is to really smash that vocal. And then after that, I put on another EQ to just kind of clean up some more afterwards. This is what that comp vocal sounds like, and it's blended into the main vocal. So
You can play this game. Don't you dare say my name.
Now, if we play the main vocal here,
You can play this game.
and we'll bring in that comp vocal right now.
Don't you dare say my name.
So you can hear it, but you can't hear it very much, right? These are to blend in together with each other. To me, it just cleans up the vocal a little bit more. After that, I added the reverb. I also have the comp vocal going to the reverb. That's the only one that is going to it. I sent this also to this reverb here. Now I'll play it and I'll bring in the reverb and let you hear what it sounds like.
You can play this game.
As you can hear, it puts that vocal in a different space. And what I did with the reverb was actually very simple. I threw the reverb on it, Fruity Reverb 2. Very simple. Wanted it to be super wet here. The decay is kind of long. Now, a lot of times people use a plate reverb or something a little bit shorter, but I was going for a different vibe in this. So this is the vibe that I want. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is just the way that I did it, and it helped really facilitate the sound that I wanted this vocal to have. After that, I cleaned it up some more, took out a lot of the low end using a EQ and just boosted some of this high end here. Something you don't have to do, but it helps with the sound. Once you hear it before the EQ or without the EQ,
You can play this game.
and I bring the EQ.
Don't you dare say my name.
It really makes that vocal sound, that vocal space sound a little bit brighter when you do that. And after that, I brought in this chorus, and this is just hyperchorus, Fruity hyperchorus. You don't have to use Fruity hyperchorus. You can always just use Fruity chorus. Hyperchorus, these are the settings that I have on that. It's to give the vocal more depth, right? So I do have extra takes, like since we recorded everything here and we did a lot of takes, I have extra takes, but I needed something to just kind of widen it out some more. So instead of stacking the vocals with 5 and 6 stacks, I just used this Fruity I just used hyperchords, and I put a Fruity parametric EQ on it to just boost that area in the high. And this is what it sounds like with that on there. So before,
You can play this game.
and after.
Don't you dare say my name.
And what you'll notice with a lot of these vocals is that, so this right here, the louder this is, the louder it goes through to all the other sends. So if this is low, it's not going through the send channel very high either. It's going to go through very low. And then I just blend those in until you can hear it. After that, I added more saturation. This is a separate saturation here. With this saturation here, what I'm doing is I'm just adding more harmonics to the top of her vocal. More harmonics to the top of her vocals. And this also brings in a little bit more volume. So without that saturation, it sounds like this.
You can play this game.
And with it,
Don't you dare say my name.
and it's just, it adds a bit of a warmth to the vocal. Now, like I said, we're doing small things. We're not doing huge things. We're not making big, huge strides. But these little small things are making a big difference as we go down the line. If we look at what the saturation is doing, I'm just using Fruity Wave Shaper. And this is one of those weird settings that they got on there. And it gives it like this raspy top end. If I cut this up all the way, you'll hear it.
You can play this.
You hear how it's kind of staticky? That's what it's adding. It's adding that saturation to it. And that saturation is basically just some warmth to it. It gives it like a vintage style sound to it. Makes it sound warm or warmer. And then I have the delay. And the delay that I'm using is Fruity Delay 3. And these are the settings on that. I got the dry knob turned all the way down, or for the most part down. I brought this level down too because I don't want it to sing. I don't want it to delay too much. This level controls how long or how much of that you hear, how many times you hear. I have it set to stereo and I have it set to 4 here, or quarter notes. With the delay, normally I like to automate my delay send, but in this one I actually just like the way it sounded kind of coming through. I also put this EQ on there to clean up some of that low end because I didn't want it to sound too muddy down there. You know, once it's muddy like that, it just muddies up especially with delay playing through things, it just kind of muddies up the rest of the vocal. This is what it sounds like without the delay.
You can play this game.
And then let's throw the delay on.
You can play this game. Don't you dare say my name.
And you hear it, but it's not too loud. And with the music playing, it almost just sounds like it's she's in a space, on a stage or something of some sort. The delay is pretty simple. These are all, like I said, the vocal is sent to these channels, so I can control how much of it I hear, and I have more control over those. The last thing that I did to her vocals, I sent it to this Excite channel. You can see it's sent to Excite, and this is the only plugin that is not native to FL Studio, La Petite Excite. And you can make an exciter in FL Studio just using the EQ tool, or you can use Patcher. You can make so many things in Patcher. But these are the settings that I use. This is a free plugin, and I just kind of brought up some of the highs, brought up a little bit of the lows, and then I cut that noise floor on. And basically, it just makes the vocal sound a little bit more airy at the top. So without the Excite,
You can play this game.
and with the Excite,
You can play this game.
so it's not a big, huge difference. It's just adding a little bit of air to the top end of that vocal. Just kind of makes it sound a little bit more present, should I say. But after that, that's pretty much all I've done to the main vocal. And then I have these background vocals here, and a lot was done with the background vocals. I sent them all to this channel, so I'm gonna turn this off. I sent them all to this one, and what I did before I got into depth with the mixing of these, I actually went in here and I did a lot of pitching, right? So this is pan to the left, then I got the other one pan to the right, but also I did a stretch pro here, and I did a format pitch, and I brought it down about 400 cent to blend those in together, and they just blend in with the main vocal. And this one is more of a background as well, but this one is pitched up. This format pitch is pitched up about 200, I want to say 300 cent, and it gives it this sound here.
You can play this game. Don't you dare say my name. Such a shame you say you love me, baby. I can't believe you got me going crazy.
And these are all just meant to accent the actual vocal itself. So if I bring the vocal back in and we listen to everything, as you can see, and as you just heard, it doesn't go through the entire vocal itself. It's just missing different spots. And you can barely hear these, right? These are here to be more so felt than heard. Now, you can hear them, but you can only hear them just a little bit. And this is just going to give us more depth to the vocal. This is what it sounds like with all of those.
You can play this game. Don't you dare say my name.
It sounds like there's more than one of her singing right now, right? It sounds like there's more than one pitch of her, and it's almost like it's harmonizing, but these are also different takes. As you can see, these shapes are a lot different than these shapes up here, and that's because these are actual different takes, so they don't sound on the exact same time. You can see this is a little bit later than this one, and it's because it's not supposed to sound matched. If you match those sounds together, it's just going to sound louder. So we just took different vocals that we had and added those in there. So after doing everything that I did, I pretty much did the same thing to the vocals here, the background vocals that I did to the main vocals, but I just did it differently. Like the same thing with the auto-tune or pitcher, but it's turned up a lot more here. And since this is in the background, we won't hear it too much, but I did turn it up a little bit more. After that, I put on the compressor, and it's compressing a lot harder than the original vocal is being compressed, and it's a lot shorter on the attack, a lot longer on the release, and this one is going to be vintage instead of hard. The next thing that I did was the parametric EQ. This cleans up a lot of that low end. Did another parametric EQ, kind of boosted that warmth right here and boosted the high end. And then I wanted to add saturation, but I did it a different way with this one. I added the distortion on this one to add that saturation to it. And then after that, I put on another EQ to boost that same saturation area or saturated area, just to kind of make it sound more warm and more vintage. But it's also set in the background. Now, I sent these also to different channels. So the reverb is sent to the reverb, and I did the same thing, added a reverb and an EQ, kind of clean it up some. And then after that, I also sent it to the delay, did the same thing with the delay, and then did the same thing with the chorus. So as you can see, the same things going on, but this is a lot lower in the background. So when everything is playing together, you can't really hear it too much. What I'll do is I'll let you hear what it all sounds like together real quick, and kind of let you kind of see if you can decipher if you can hear it or not. First, I'll cut it off. Let me just cut all these back on. Then I'll cut this off, and then we'll just hit play, and I'll let you hear everything, even with the music. This is without those background vocals.
You can play this Jooce game. Don't you dare say my name.
Now let's bring in those background vocals and hear the difference.
You can play this Jooce game. Don't you dare say my name. Hey,
Back in.
it's such a shame to say you love me, baby. I can't believe
Check 'em
you
out.
got me going crazy. Your love is toxic, it's so hypnotic. What I want if I'm being honest, you to love me.
So as you can see, it's not a big huge difference, but you can feel the difference. It feels more full once you add those background vocals in there. That's pretty much all I did. I'm not gonna go over these vocals. These are just my vocals. It's basically the same thing. I just did a different process. Everything is basically the same. I mean, my vocals needed some things that her vocals didn't need. Her vocals needed things that mine didn't need. But this is basically what it's like to mix vocals in FL Studio, and I've used all native plugins besides that one thing, which was La Petite Excite. I will tell you here, instead of putting a gate on, I just kind of cut these vocals up and kind of did this what is it, this bleeding, or I guess you would call it smooth bleeding or whatnot, but just kind of bring those sounds out. If you've made it this far in the video, there's a trick that I actually want to show you that I did with her vocals, and you might find it useful. So there's a part of the song right here where I hold my vocals out quite a bit, right? We'll go, you'll hear it. That's me. There's a point where she holds hers, but she doesn't hold it out quite long enough. But I had to make her hold it out a little bit longer, and I'll show you how I did that. This is hers right here. And as you can see, there's 2 instances of that vocal. It's not that long. She didn't hold it out that long. If I cut that off and we just leave it really didn't hold out that long. Number 2, I stretched it first off. First thing I did was I stretched this vocal, but then I blended it with itself, right? So as you can see here, this vocal is the exact same vocal here, but it's blended in. And the trick here is to meet those vocals right at the right point, right? So you can see this vocal is fully in here, and this vocal is fully out here. We have to meet those right where they're basically coming together, where they are both still in. One is going out and the other one is coming in. And all I did was I just stretched them out that way, and then I put them together, and it made her hold this vocal out. And I think it's important to have these put together like this. If you have them like this, it's okay, but it's very important to put them together like this, I think. So the trick here is to stretch the vocal and then make them meet at a spot right here where they meet. This vocal is not quite out yet. This vocal right here isn't quite out yet, but this vocal isn't quite in yet, and they're basically at the exact same volume around here. And then I just kind of lead it out right here because it's still a little longer there. But this trick helps when you have somebody who either can't hold the note that long or just didn't hold the note long enough, and you wanted it to be a little longer. So that's the trick that I use, and hopefully you'll find that trick helpful. That is this full breakdown as far as these vocals go. As far as mixing in FL Studio, you can get a professional sound in FL Studio. I don't care what anybody tells you. With time, with practice, and using the tools that you have, it's gonna help you get that sound. One thing that I will say is that you don't need a lot. I say always try limiting yourself. You know, try using what you do have. You don't have to stack a whole bunch of stuff on there. You don't have to have a whole bunch of plugins. You don't have to have a whole bunch of takes. You just want good takes, and you want to be able to get the best out of the plugins that you do have. But other than that, thank y'all so much for watching this video. I hope you did learn something from it. I hope you was able to take something from this video. And if you like this song, it is streaming now. I will put it in the video somewhere. You can go listen to this song and support us with that. And we definitely appreciate it. But once again, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video.
You can play this Jooce game.